Mike McCool. I'm in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is quite a few people. And I think the easiest way is just let everybody introduce themselves. Robert, you go first.
I'm Robert Hutman, candidate for South River Supervisor's position.
I'm Ben Ferry. I'm a real estate broker. Live in Front Royal.
I'm Lloyd Knight. I'm a financial advisor here in Warren County.
I'm Alex Steeb. I do local business here and a few other businesses as well.
And I'm Stan Merzen with Roof Simple.
Yeah, I know all you guys. We've all had dealings together, but I talked to Robert the other day, and he was explaining to me just some of the issues he's had trying to work with some of these gentlemen here and working with the EDA and the Ball property, the warehouse property out there, and just things in general of bringing economic development to our county and town. So we want to talk. We'll start off with Robert. He's going to give us the details of what we want to talk about. Robert?
Yeah, months ago, Alex approached me about the Ball Drive property, and he was willing to bring his business back into town and create what we was calling a incubator style business there, where his business would fill up 20% of the building, and then he would bring in other entrepreneurs with him to fill that building and try to get us some tax revenue. And it was just, maybe the transition wasn't right at the time, but it was one thing after another that we ran into. And like I said, Alex could explain more about his business dealings.
Was this after the EDA purchased the building?
So it's going on over a year that building's been bought, and I think it's, you do the math, it's close to $430,000 they've done spent, or
on interest and
on interest,
repair, insurance.
just taxpayers alone.
Right. That's just taxpayer money.
Yeah.
All right. So Alex, you want to kind of fill us in on what you were trying to do?
Sure, yeah. Back originally, I was looking to just have a piece of property, and there's not a whole lot of commercial things in Warren County. It's a good for the primary business. As said, he was going to have 20%, which is a construction and engineering company. That we were just looking to have some land that we can parcel off here in the county, just because of the 8166 access. Makes it easy for our trucks to get in on and off and things of that nature. So I said just basic property we're looking to parcel off. They said that they didn't really have anything. They said most of what they had was all for Amazon or Facebook or something of that nature. And they said maybe we'll have something, get back to you. Just from a business perspective, they've never really got back to me. So I kept following up a little bit. Ended up turning into several month ordeal, just me kind of checking in, just seeing if they had anything. Then, as I said, I kind of got a little frustrated with it. Just said, hey, Robert, I know you pretty good with the farms. Is there anybody that you may know? And that's what it ended up turning into. He said, hey, I do know of a couple warehouses, since that's what ultimately what you're going to be looking to do. So ended up trying to pursue that, and that ended up being another several month ordeal, because again, it's just me trying to follow up, trying to get things done. I understand, I didn't know full well what was going on at the time, because I'm not really involved. I live up in the Frederick County area, and I'm not originally from here. Originally from Colorado out west. Kind of moved my way to this area. Been here for a little while now, but I wasn't fully aware of the EDA issues that were going on at the time. So kind of ignorance on that. But when I did find out, I gave them the benefit of the doubt. Took my time with it. I ended up turning it into like a 6-month ordeal. Just continually ask for more information. So to me, it ended up turning into roadblocks, rather than legitimate reasons why we
Instead of sitting down and just saying, look, well, this might be a problem. Let's see how we can work and make this.
Exactly.
Everything is kind of like things we've talked about in the past with Robert and other candidates. It seems like government in general, the first word out of their mouth is no.
Sure.
Instead of, well, it's no, but let's sit down and see how we can make it a yes.
Yeah.
And I always think that in business, we're all entrepreneurs here. I mean, if you have customers, you look at it and you're saying, yeah, the price is too high, or I don't know if I can afford that, or I don't know really what I want. Well, let's sit down and figure it out. And you sit down and you discuss the detail. You work backwards, you come back to get the solution of it, done. And it seems like governments in general, and here lately, we've had that argument with the county and the town is, more at the county, I would say. We'll go ahead and plug that. But it just seems like that they, and this is a stereotypical typical statement, but it's almost like they're trying to work against everybody instead of really trying to help people, and they forget who they work for. I mean, we say that in this country, you know, you work for the people. We don't work for you. You work for us. And I think that they forget that. You mentioned something that I think Ben will really key in on, and that's location, location, location. Warren County is set in a real, we have great benefits here for businesses, even if they are warehouse businesses. But there's a lot more things that are going on. You know, we have the 66, we got the inland port, we got I-81, we've got the river, we've got plenty of land. What little bit we have left, but there's plenty of it for those kind of things. And even with all these EDA things that are happening that no one cares about. I mean, we don't like it, right? But here they're putting up another big warehouse out next to the RSW. That's 325,000 square foot building. So people are coming to Warren County to build. But the problem is it's big projects. And people that want to come in and try to do something to get to a big project, I think we get hindered. Same thing has happened to you, happened to me as well over the years, and the previous administration is like they never would get back in touch with you. Or you would talk to them and you'd give them an idea. No, we don't want to do that. And 2 weeks later they do it for somebody else. But they won't call you back and make an offer. You know, you give them an idea. So that's my 2 cents worth. So it's not a new problem. But, you know, what should we expect from the EDA?
Yeah, I mean, my opinion, I mean, it's, you know, it comes down to basic principles. You know, just following up is a pretty big one. Just at least, you know, hearing ideas, you know, because that's what really ultimately comes. It's all that creative nature that we find in, you know, America. That's really what makes us, it's industrialism and creativity that really makes us what we are as, you know, Americans, having that freedom to create businesses and things of that nature. And really, it's not the government's role to ever do anything. And when we look at the founding of the Constitution and the founding of our country, you know, it's always been about just that freedom of being able to choose what we want to do. And it's not, you know, it's not always the equal outcome, but the equal opportunity for everybody.
Right.
And, you know, having that hindrance is not allowing us to do that here in this county. Is that I'm not really from it, but I do have, you know, some dealings here, and as I said, I've just seen that particular because I do deal with a lot of different government agencies with the engineering construction.
Sure.
And this tends to be, from what I see, a little bit, you know, a lot more challenging to deal with because of that. So, you know, having businesses that we want to see. So, I mean, for opening it up, I mean, from what I see, it's just, you know, not being so clung on to these properties, you know, even if they take them at a loss and things of that nature, you know, it would be unfortunate, but in the long run, you know, rather than the short run look and view, if we offload some of these properties, you know, take the loss as is, you know, maybe 20-30% of these buildings, you know, what they think that they're worth, and probably realistically more real market values of them. And once they offload those properties, whatever the difference is gets left over. By the time you're offloading all those properties, you'll end up spurring a lot of new businesses as a result. And the people that are willing to take the risk, you know, the entrepreneurs and the business owners, they're going to take those risks that the government doesn't have to do that. It's not the taxpayers, you know, it's on the businesses. And then once that happens, you're going to be able to increase that tax revenue base. And once you get that tax revenue base, whatever loss you did take is going to recoup in a matter of 3 to 5 years easily.
Well, Robert, you mentioned something that they told you they didn't like the business plan.
No, they're really hung on manufacturing in that building, some type of not warehouse, but some type of plant. Granted, you know, they've had a year I felt, you know, enough time to try to get that going. I believe they probably bought the building a little higher than what they should have, and
Yeah, I've heard that.
from numerous sources, just the
Seems like every building they purchased in the last 10 years has benefited somebody, and they've been purchased at way over appraised value or what the building was worth.
yeah, and we should have been there for that building to, you know, ease whoever came in there and gave them maybe some incentives, but we should have never bought it for whatever reason they justified buying that building. We're not in the real estate business. We're here to bring the businesses in, these business owners to come in, provide, you know, tax revenue from what they bring in, and we should always be there welcoming, but not on the hook. That's my main concern,
Well,
taxpayers.
I think the new board of the EDA is going to be a little more open, and in fact, we talked to them the other day. They're going to be coming in, and have they're starting like a communication committee. They want to let people know what's going on. They're going to be a little more transparent than I think what we've seen in the past, but time will tell.
Yeah.
But I think that their motivation is a lot more positive.
Yeah.
They do have a lot of what you call. I'm trying to think of the word that's polite. That they got a lot of problems to take care of from past issues, so they are going to. They're challenged, so we'll see. But I think they have a pretty decent board now, and we'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
So we don't want to bash the EDA because I mean, and again, think about that. I mean, they're the unpaid citizens just like we are in the county, trying to do the best at what they can do, and people are just beating them up.
Yeah.
So, and as you know, as you're running for South River, if you get on the supervisor, you're going to be beat up.
Yeah.
Because no matter what you do, there's going to be somebody that doesn't like what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
well, Ben, what's your take in this this process?
Well, I met Alex through our new BNI chapter that we've started on Main Street here in town, and he brought up his concerns with the EDA, and I know we've had a rough past few months and with the EDA, and I understand there's a lot of work that needs to be done to fix what happened and how and to progress and help facilitate growth, and that's why we're here. I mean, we're here to kind of showcase that we're a new group, a young group, a hungry group that wants to help facilitate growth in this community and work with our partners in the government. We understand that there's a mess that needs to be cleaned up. We're here to show them that we're willing to do our
Progress
part.
can't stop just because we have a mess to clean up. We got to
Yeah.
keep moving forward,
Yeah.
and this other stuff will come along as we move it. In fact, the more we do, the least this looks better. You know what I mean? Things will
Yeah.
get better because we got new stuff coming in
Yeah.
to help do it.
Exactly.
Roof Simple, what's going on with your company in this?
Well, I think specifically I should say I'm also part of the same networking group, so we're growing, we're trying to be innovative in this particular space. But as someone, I think I want to just make a note. I'm probably the newest transplant out of everyone here. I only just moved here probably in the last.
You notice that
2 or
people
3
are
years?
moving to Warren County.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
think about that. Here's new entrepreneurs moving to Warren County. I mean, this is great. I mean,
And here I just wanted to say there's 2 things that I've noticed about and not understanding everything there is to know about all the different things that
Sure.
have been going on. But the general impression that I've gotten is that a lot of the city government and all of these policies that are currently in place stymie a lot of efforts and a lot of good, honest efforts to grow this community. The other side of that equation is that there's a really vibrant community that should be allowed to grow. And so that's a huge problem. If you got this huge base of people and businesses that want to innovate and they're not being able to, I'm just seeing that surface level.
well, people vote with their feet. They'll
Oh,
go
yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah, no, and that's what people continue to do. And the other thing, what you were saying about being at the intersection of 66 and 81, I can see it already. I'm looking at property values, I'm saying these are investment opportunities now.
Right.
Get in it now. Figure out how to get stuff in, open it up, bring new business. Because you can be trying to bring in the next big Amazon or anything else, but no one's going to move here if we don't have those other avenues for people to enjoy life.
Right.
You need the other small businesses. You need the local things.
Right.
So that change is coming.
It's coming whether we
Yeah.
want to or not.
Yeah.
You haven't said anything yet.
Well, I guess the bottom line for me, guys, is entrepreneurship is on the decline in our country.
It is.
And this country was founded on entrepreneurship. Men and women, like all of us around this table, who want to go out and stake their own claim and plant their own flag. And without that, our country dies, and the American dream dies. If we're run solely, if business is done only solely with the big firms out there that are already established, or in small communities like this, only people who are within that network of 2 or 3 generations of knowing your grandfather's grandfather,
Exactly.
having to be a requirement to be a new, fondling business in this area. And, in my opinion, it's, business owners like this who are outside the box thinkers, who are working 7 days a week to make their business a part of the community, a powerful and impactful in a positive way part of the community, for those people to get shut down because they're not, their grandfather's grandfather isn't
Right.
known in the community.
I didn't go to high school here, so I
Exactly.
don't know everybody that works at the government center, right?
That's we've never done it that way. In my opinion, in my experience, is the most dangerous statement in business or government.
Right. Or we've done that way, it didn't work.
Exactly. So it really, change from the inside. It needs to happen, and these folks that are coming, that are new to town, and are bringing innovative ideas, they shouldn't be overlooked, in my opinion.
Well, like I said earlier, I'm a real proponent of, customer service, and I think that, and trying to help people succeed. I think that's really the purpose of any business, is to help other businesses be successful.
Yeah.
And you do that in your B&I group. I'm sure that's. All right.
And
What
that's,
else?
well, and then that's, like you said, was customer service. Maybe we discussed about the EDA, and I know they were on the, focusing on internal issues. But maybe they should outsource, to someone else to have just a customer service expert come in and handle those phone calls, first contacts with the new entrepreneurs, make sure that, they're feeling like they're wanted in our community, instead of just, or just be honest with them and be like, hey, 3 months from now we can revisit it.
Right.
We're just trying to get our books in order. Just a few key words they could have done, and it would have really went a long way with, especially Alex and then anyone else. It's just
You mentioned that incubator word, and for a while, I remember a few years ago, we had these, excuse me, these technology zones and incubator buildings and sites. That was the buzzword a few years ago. But that's what grows, and people started those small. Every business started. No business started with 500 employees. All right, I mean, it doesn't happen. Well, maybe it does on Wall Street, but it doesn't happen in real life. And most, Hewlett Packard, HP started with two guys in their garage. Microsoft started with a guy.
You know that fish store and there's a gas station and they're selling like fried fish and all that.
Right.
So they're already telling me that seems like the incubator space for like Front Row. Like
Right.
there was that Royal Spice was in there.
Right.
Now it's them. They have
Right.
a new location
Right.
opening in Winchester. It's great.
Yeah.
You need
Oh,
those spaces.
And people start off. Every business starts off with just one person and one idea, and see how we can get out there and sell it.
and it's doing well in Fauquier County. I met
Excuse
with their
me.
EDA director, and on account of Delegate Weber took me over
Right.
there, and they got 3 incubators that the county paid for.
Right.
And one's in Warrenton, and the other 2 are spread out through Fauquier, but they're killing it with that concept that he was willing to bring and run more efficient than
Well-
us, the government, could.
And the entrepreneurs in general will work those 7 days a week. Will work those. Like I tell people, I only work half days. 7 to 7, 8 to 8, 9 to 9, something like that, right? I mean, I'm sure you all work half days as well. When you go past half days, it gets a little tough when you get 70 years old. But we're still out there doing it. And just like the Royal Examiner, it kind of got started with an idea. It started with IT Federal, and with frustration of not being by being hindered with information. So guess what? This is an entrepreneurial effort. And I think all our businesses have started that way. But I think the EDA and talking to them was trying to be in the town. I remember over the last year or so is to have a single source where new businesses come to our community. They go to one place to find out about zoning and licensing and opportunities of where buildings are and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's just the resource center of what they do. That was one of the functions that they were trying to get set up. And that's what we need. But when I walk in there, like you said, you ask a question, you should be able to get an answer quickly,
Sure.
not 3 months later. We got to think about it and that's the purpose of an EDA. People want to, we want the government to take it back over. Well, government is not the answer to anything. I mean, that's anti-entrepreneurial. I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. That's like, people think that's a joke, right?
Yeah.
So, the government can't really do it. I mean, there's some things they can do well if it involves a lot of money, but because they have the resources, we don't have that. So there's certain roles for each of us, and and I think the role of the entrepreneur is come up with the idea and the drive to do it, and if the government is to help us and get out of the way and let us do it. I mean, that's kind of what we want, right?
Yeah.
That's the American way. Get out of my way. What they say, lead or follow or get out of the way, one or the other, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about something else. So, what do we expect now out of our EDA? I mean, have we beat it up enough, or do we think that there's a future for it? Right now, the talk is, once there's people out there want to get rid of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think that's really the answer, but
Yeah, I feel like what we're doing right now is we're kind of, introducing ourselves here. We're letting them know we're here. They already know that a lot of
They know
people are
you.
concerned.
Yeah.
They already know that there's a lot of work to do.
Excuse me.
We're here to help facilitate that, and we want to have that conversation.
we want to be part of the solution.
Yeah.
Get out of the way. We're here to, we want to be involved. And if you don't let us, we're not going to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to go away. We're going to stay. We've moved here, and we're going to make it work. I think we have to, do what we can to do it. If they're not going to help, then get out of my way. I'm going to do it anyway. That's
Yeah.
kind of always been my attitude.
That's the point we're at right now in our community, and with what they're saying too. It's not like they're going to come in here and want to grow the next Manassas. We have
Right.
enough room and industrial property out on that north end to handle everyone's businesses, bring the tax revenue we need in for the teachers' pay. We got to be creative. We can't just always look at the taxpayer as the piggy bank that we need.
Right.
And that also increase our tourism revenue as well. I mean, these guys are great with marketing. He's met with numerous clients. If we could do, like I was talking to him, if we could, as a county, pick areas in the county that we could already have pre-qualified Airbnbs, so when he shows a property, that client that wants to retire here eventually, they can buy that house and know that, I'll pay, say, instead of a $500 conditional use permit, we bump it up to $1,000, $1,200, make a little bit extra, but it's like, go through the green light right away, and he can sell more, the houses that are on the market. And
Yeah, we're talking a lot right now about, developers building land. A Crooked Run West is a big hot topic. People, I think part of the things too is people don't want anything in their backyard. That's syndrome. But these are just developers. Developers aren't going to be building any homes. They're just making the land available so someone could do something.
yeah,
And we have quite of that. So when do developers or when do house builders decide to start building homes? How does the demand happen? You know what I mean? Where does that come from? How does the market react to all of a sudden I'm Ryan Holmes, I'm going to Front Royal and build 500 homes out there? When do I make that decision, or how do I make that decision?
Yeah, I think there's a number of factors there. Many people from Northern Virginia area are moving out here for a number of reasons. There's retirees. They're retiring. They're selling their homes in Northern Virginia for 3 times the price they could get a house out here or build a house out
Right.
here. So that they're moving out in this direction to retire, be close to the city where they can still be close to their friends but all at the same time have a place out here where they can retire. Then there's jobs. I mean, if there are companies looking out here to bring jobs to this area, they're also going to be bringing employees, so they're going to need housing. But going back to your point about the vacation rentals, for instance, or Airbnbs, our tourist industry is one of the main sources. Is our main
Sure,
industry out
sure.
here, and I've had countless amounts of buyers who want to come out here. They want to purchase a home as a second home, and they want to eventually retire in that home. But a huge portion of them want to rent out their home as an Airbnb. We have people come here. We have apparently 1 million people that come through Skyline Drive a year.
yes,
1 million people. There's not very many places for them to stay. There's not very many places for them to enjoy here. Besides that, we have a huge opportunity here.
yeah. They go to Page County.
And I know many people have been, they personally feel that they've been stifled. They haven't been able to take advantage of that and use their homes or build homes that are conducive to that. So-
We really don't have the hotel business is not really booming. We have a lot of our hotels have turned into low-income housing, apartment buildings,
Yeah.
and which, there's always a need for that, but, the argument now is, we have this high rental business, a rental community, where 60 or 70% when the average should be maybe 40%. And all they want to talk about is building workforce housing and more low-income housing. And when you see some of these programs that are out there, they're geared for low-income areas. So the more of those you build, the more low-income you become, because you attract more of that part of that economy. And so it's almost like it's hurting you more than it's helping you.
Sure.
So and that's part of the government's role is they see everybody wants a grant, and we're going to get a grant to do this.
Yeah.
I'm reluctant. Grants always have strings attached to them. So as entrepreneurs, I think we just need to not be stifled or with the government. I think we need to be involved, and like Robert is doing, and that's the other thing. Our community, we need to be involved in the politics, because that's how things get done. I say one of my pet peeves is the interchange on 606, putting an access to I-66. Well, we've been talking about that for over 30 years, and they blame it on VDOT. Well, it's too close to the other one, they're not going to give it. Well, you drive anywhere in the country, they got interchanges 20 feet apart. So don't tell me it can't be done, right? Drive it, right? They got it. Here's exit 1, here's exit 2. Well, it's exit 1.5, So that may be their standard, but that doesn't mean, and how do they get that? They get that way through politics, is how you get 12 extra exits in an area where you're only supposed to have one. Politics does that, and I think that's the pressure we need to put on. If the town and the county won't ask, they're not going to get it. If you don't ask, you're not going to ever get it. And you ask, like they say, how many times you ask? You keep asking till you get what you want. If you have a 2-year-old, you can experience that real easy, right? Why? What? I want mommy. Eventually, you give in, and I think that's no different in real life. Why? I'm kind of like the one. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
You build that interchange, you'll have those 1,500 homes built out there. That's just my gut feeling. My entrepreneurial
It's open
spirit
up
tells
that.
me that, right?
Yeah.
It's just open up that hose.
That's it. You just got to turn it a couple more turns.
Yeah.
And we've had opportunities to build that interchange when it only cost $2 or $3 million. Have you ever been to Texas? They built an interchange with a
On top of an
bulldozer.
interchange.
In 36 hours, they got an interchange put in, and cars are going. It's not safe sometimes, but you know what? You can get on and off the freeway, right? So you wonder sometimes, how in the world, why does it cost so much to do road projects? And then they build them, and they just tear it and go to Gainesville. They built it, and it seems like they just built that thing, and now they're tearing it up, building it again, and they tear it up and build it again. So that interchange of 495 and I-66 has been redone since I've been in town at least 20 times. So
If I put another plug in there too, even some of these like higher end projects, there's even some stuff on like the small scale. Because like part of the incubator project that I was going to put together there was also just helping with the education of business, because I see that there's a lot of young entrepreneurs that are hungry, but they may not know the structure of a business, or they may not know all the different avenues, such as having like a good financial advisor or a good real estate agent, or even good trade contacts to get with. So that's why part of I joined the BNI. To kind of help, either way, because I'm not in this for necessarily just getting money, because my businesses aren't necessarily in the community. I just like to see my backyard to grow. As I said, I do live in Frederick, but I still live very close to this community, and I do have a lot of friends and people that I work with here. But as far as that goes, even just a basic thing, when I was interacting with Lord Fairfax Community College, I was going to try to get them to come and host events there, and offer it as no cost and things. Hey, you guys just come here, we'll put on some business seminars. And when I talked with the small business department there at Lord Fairfax, all the surrounding counties actually contribute to their small business program, but Warren County, they said in particular, doesn't. And it and they said it wasn't a very expensive thing. And I just read an article on the lady that heads that up, and she got national recognition. So we do have that phenomenal resource there, right there at Lord Fairfax. And and I think it was only like it's a small amount that they were asking. It was like 10,000 or 15.
The Front Royal Independent Business Alliance several years ago got the town to buy in again to that SBDC over at Lord Fairfax. But then same thing, the town, the people that were kind of the liaison, put it on the bottom of the pile and would not, it takes two people. You've got to really work together. They're only going to do what they're asked to do, and these people, if you don't ask, you're not going to get it.
Sure.
And then so what comes along is, well, nothing happened, so they didn't rejoin. And you have to be proactive in all these adventures, and you can't. I always, it's kind of like the sheriff's department and the zoning department. They all tell you, well, we're not going to patrol or go out and look for anything. We're just going to wait until someone complains or someone calls us on the phone. And I can understand the reasoning for that, but you drive right by. Here, give you a good example. Years ago, the town has a graffiti ordinance about you have so many days to get rid of the graffiti. So I'm standing on the front porch of the old town hall, and I bring the town manager out here, and I said, "What do you see right out here at your front door? You come out this door every day. You see that little signal box right over across the street? There's graffiti painted all over it. Now, that graffiti's been on there for 3 months. The ordinance says they have 10 days to get it off. Guess what? That box belongs to the town. What are we going to do about that?" They walk out that door and don't see it. And I says, well, here's another thing. I said, I want to tell you that I don't think our town employees are wearing their seatbelts in their trucks when they're driving by. Oh, we've got 90% compliance. I said, okay, let's just stand here for a few minutes and count the people go by in government vehicles and see how many people are wearing their seatbelts. 1 out of 10. The other 9 didn't have their seatbelts on. So I said, I'm just trying to tell you, if you don't inspect what you expect, it's not going to happen.
Sure.
And, that's the job of, your supervision and management is to inspect what you expect. And not to pick on the town, or the government in general, because they're trying to do more with less, just like everybody else. But I do think that, like you said, you've talked about this property out there, and it just seems strange to me that you mentioned they didn't like your business plan. They thought they could hold it out for another bit. Is that really maybe I'm wrong. I just don't see that's a function.
Really, the thing, I never even got an answer that was firm. I put forth an offer, was ready to go, and I had my own attorney because they weren't prepared, draft up things. But the only thing I really especially asked for, because of some of the things that came to light, I was like, I just need a little time to kick the tires on this building. Give me a little bit of a due diligence period up front. I know it's a little unusual. Sure. Just give me some due diligence. Let me check with DEQ, things like that, just to make sure what I plan to do with it. I can do that up front. I wasn't asking any, you say grants and things of that nature.
Sure.
I didn't want any of that. I wanted to take the full risk as an entrepreneur, just get out here and, try to do something. I wasn't looking for the government to help me in any stretch of the imagination, just more, let me do what I do.
Sure.
And, I'll be more than happy to take care of and bring a lot of, folks along for the ride to be able to get that done. But I said, it was a little bit unusual, but I did need that, up front to be able to make sure, before I invested millions of dollars in a building.
Sure.
That I was being able to, do my fact checking beforehand, before putting an offer. So when I did ask for that, I just never got an answer. So, and I had a timeline on it, and because of that continual over and over and over again for months on end, I said, this is my final straw. I'm just kind of at my wood's end with this, just trying to get some basic response. Just say, I said, like just tell me no. Hey, that's cool. We're not in a position.
I can accept the no as gracefully as a yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I never even got that. It was just, here's my offer, here's my deadline. Accept it or decline it, and I never even got a response. So it was disheartening in the ways that couldn't even just a basic. Hey, we're not in a position to sell. Just basic communication skills that what most entrepreneurs understand is that, hey, we just have to communicate with our clients or potential clients that, hey, we're not in a position to do something right now, or we're rebuilding something, or hey, please excuse our mess.
Exactly right. We're under construction.
We're under construction.
I understand that, and I think that goes back to government in general. They're just not very transparent, and they hold things pretty close to the vest. It seems like way more than entrepreneurs, and I guess that's why people are in the government. They're not entrepreneurial. Thank goodness, Wonder what our government would be like if it was run by a bunch of entrepreneurs. It might not be very good. We need bureaucrats. That's what keeps things moving. That's give us that continuity. I guess it's one of those three-legged stools. I guess we just have to fight it. But I think it's encouraging that we have a group of entrepreneurs that they're still being bred. It's just you mentioned something, and years ago, about 30 years ago, one of our roles in this company was we traveled around and did a lot of conventions and seminar work. And back then you could go to the seminar and go to the back of the room and get an audio cassette and take it home with you and listen to the presentation. Well, that's what we did. We did but we did a lot in the healthcare and the physician recruitment business. And one of the things was, well, in 30 years, doctors are just going to work for hospitals. They don't want to be entrepreneurs. They want to just make their $70,000 a year and go home on weekends and be off. And guess what happened? We have hospitals own practices. There's no the entrepreneurs are dying off, and from the medicine and the healthcare field, and it's run by big business now. Exactly what they predicted 30 years ago. It's happened, and I think that's what's happening today in business. Look, we got Amazon. Tell me, what does Amazon sell?
A little bit of everything.
Well, think about what they sell. What is their product they sell?
They sell your
Convenience.
product.
They sell speed. That's the business they're in, and that's what people expect. Why do you buy something on Amazon? Because you can get it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because you can drive out the road and get it today. You're gonna pay a little more for it, maybe, or maybe pay less. Or you can order it from somewhere else and get it in a week from California. But if you buy that same exact item from Amazon, it'll be delivered on your desk tomorrow. And that's what they sell, and that's what our industry is: speed. Think about it. They don't really make anything. They don't, but we don't think that way. We think they make all that stuff, but they don't. They don't make a thing. They just sell speed. And so, what is convenience? What is Walmart? I mean, they sell the same thing that every little mom and pop store sells, but they sell it out there for convenience. It's all in one place.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to 16 different little businesses to buy something. And the grocery store, I can go to the grocery store, I can go to the pharmacy, I can go to the electronics, buy my TV, go over here and buy some socks, go over here and buy some bread and milk, and do it all in one convenient in and out, stand in line for an hour, and out the door you go. So think about that in our business. I mean, look at these small businesses that create, in the past anyway, 85% of our jobs are created by businesses with 15 or less employees maybe?
Yeah.
Well, isn't that the same for Amazon and Walmart and Home Depot's profit margins, though?
Yeah.
It's not the average consumer that's driving the profit margins at Amazon and Home Depot. It's entrepreneurs.
Yep.
That need something fast.
They
and
need
now.
something fast. Exactly. So here we are. We're supporting our competitor, so to speak. You know what I mean?
But that's the way it should work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way the system was designed, for the small business to feed the big business. And in our country, if we're and in our community, if we're stymieing that entrepreneurial spirit and the entrepreneurial nature of our community, in the end, long term, that's going to affect the big business and government here. I mean, it's really the root and the engine of progress and financial forwardness in this country is small business and entrepreneurs. It always has been and always will be. And when it changes from that, I don't think that we'll be the greatest nation in the world again if it ever does change.
Well, these countries like Vietnam and those in that area of Asia, they have turned into the new China. China has got, their economy has grown, and in fact, they had the limiting their size of the family. Well, they ran out of people. You can't grow if you don't have more people.
Right.
And I was reading a report where they. People came from the farms to the city to work because they made more money. Now, guess what? There's nobody working on the farms. So the farm raises their wages. People leave the city, go back to the farm. And now they don't have enough people. So that's where countries like Vietnam and the other countries that surround that have turned into entrepreneurs,
Yep.
have captured a lot of that business. And so I think that even here in Front Royal, look, remember when Walmart came? Oh, it's going to be the end of every small business downtown and on. Our hardware store is still going. He's reinvented himself. He's changed his whole business. Another place, they've changed their business. They've remodeled. Royal King is here, but guess what? So is every other little business. The ones that don't innovate and change and go and learn and grow, they are out. But the entrepreneurs, we're stubborn. I'd give you a really good example before we shut out here. I had a guy that worked for me years ago. He's building a house up And so he went over to get his loan, bam, just like that. So I was going to build a new house, and I went over to get my loan. Of course, they did give it to me, but I said, but you give this guy this loan for X number of dollars, and here I'm making twice as much money, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but you're giving me all this grief. He says, I said, I can fire him and I'll have his job. He said, yeah, but he can get another job, but you can't. He said, because entrepreneurs won't go out and do something. They'll sit there and beat that business to death until they run out of money, right? I mean, we're stubborn. And so that's what the banker said. Well, he can get a job, but you, not that you can't, you won't. So you'll stay there and just keep doing it until you'll make it work. So, I mean, entrepreneurs, we're stubborn bunch of people.
Yeah, and I think what you said before about the new Crooked Run, I mean, I talked to the owner of that property, and he's willing to work. I pitched the idea that we need a conference center and a resort. And if he would be willing to come in and talk to entrepreneurs instead of, going back, and I understand that the reason they want the assisted living and the apartments is to build that bridge so they could develop that property, but I think we can't hinder, our opportunity for that section to be, industrial or commercial. And I even pitched that if the county was to maybe give them that golf course as a lease to keep up the maintenance fees on it, that could be an incentive for a resort to come in. They would have river access along with the 9-hole golf course. They could do, like you were saying before, like maybe putt-putt golf or something else with the rest of the property to really do it right and get the community involved. And because if he was going to bring a business incubator and even Exalta alone, my aunt works for them, they're always coming in for conferences. If we had a conference center, we would really break in
Right.
the tourism bucks just from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we have a lot of tourism and places like that. And again, location. I know the real estate industry just beats on that, but we don't really seem to take advantage of our location. Look at Winchester, which doesn't have as good as location to the Northern Virginia as we do, and yet they've attracted, because of their zoning and their
EDA,
and their EDA, that they've attracted businesses that could have easily settled in Front Royal.
Yep.
And I think that, and around the area of the community and up and down the valley, I mean, we have the land, we have the location. So what's the missing piece? I think that's what we need to look at, is what's our missing piece, and why aren't we? Is it political? Maybe our politicians aren't politicking enough, and maybe they need to be doing a little more lobbying for Warren County. We got 3 delegates. You'd think we'd have 3 lobbyists, right?
I mean, I've been working really closely with Todd Gilbert, Delegate Weber, and Ben Klein's been nothing but great to me, and then Mark Obashay as well.
Right. So I think if we just get out there and push it,
Yeah.
great things will happen in our county, and that's what we want. I think we all want that. Probably, I'm sure you're bummed out about your deal, but here's my attitude about it. That wasn't meant for you. There's something bigger and better waiting for you, and that was just, that's the way God works. Man plans, God laughs.
Oh, absolutely.
So think about that. Whenever there's too many roadblocks, we're stubborn, we keep pushing. Maybe we should sit back and think, you know what? Maybe I forgot something. Let's look at something else. And I always look at these things as blessings, and let's move on, because there's something better out there for us. We just haven't looked, and we just need to get out there and figure out, we're stubborn enough, we're going to work it out. I think you're going to find out, give a year from now, we'll look back and see what happened, and you say, wow, man, look at this great opportunity that fell in my lap because I went out and looked for it, so.
Sure.
Let's think that way.
Well, I do, and yeah, I mean, in that note, just a plug on our Main Street Connections B&I group. I have great friendships. I mean, I wouldn't have gone and pursued that if it wasn't for that. And
Exactly. So that project that didn't work for you brought you together with a lot more people to help you on this next project.
Yeah, exactly. And I've made a lot of network connections, and so I would highly encourage anybody that wants to come out and meet with us. We do welcome people to our group there on Friday.
Tell us about, when is it?
It's on Friday mornings at 7:30, and as I said, right now we have
early.
it's early because we're business. We're going to get up and early, like you said. We're up there early and working
Half
late.
days.
Halfway like that.
Yeah, but we got what is it, like some 20-something people now?
21 members.
That's good.
Yeah.
Where you meet at?
We meet at What Matters building on Main
Right,
Street.
down at Beth Waller's
Beth Waller's,
place.
yeah, she's
Great
given us
space.
the space for that.
7:30 on Friday. Every Friday?
Every Friday morning, 7:30 to 9.
And so guests can come?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We welcome everyone. Yes,
All right.
visitors.
All right, that's Friday. We'll do that next Friday. All right, anything else anybody want to say? We sat here and beat this to death, but I think we all got if nothing else, will be a little more encouraged.
No, I mean, just focus on, just the self more than, the government. Like you say, that it's really important to do that, I think, and that's where the key is, in my opinion, is that, if we focus as individual entrepreneurs, individual self, as our own house in order before we start criticizing. And I think that's one thing I've seen a lot, is that the folks that necessarily don't have their house in order, check that first. Let's see if our own house has, maybe a roof that needs to be replaced, and, check that first. And then once we get those things in place, the government's going to see the culture, then they're forced to from the people, because, if the people are taking care of their own house and getting the education that they need and increasing the values, then, we'll be right where we need to be, in the long run.
Excuse me. Well, we know that elections are coming up November 5th. If you haven't registered to vote, this is how things happen. Every vote counts.
Yes.
It's amazing in our area how many votes have gone, and only by one vote
Yep.
someone's done it. So if you haven't registered to vote, the deadline is coming up quick. Please do that. Friday, I think today is the day you can do absentee ballots. So you
Yep.
want to get that started if you're going to be out of town on November 5th. But please vote. Please get involved in your government, and things will be better because of it. Gentlemen, I want to thank you all for coming in today and talking to us, and hopefully this give us some encouragement to go out there and fight the great fight. All right?
Thanks for having
again.
us.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.